All right. Welcome to United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. We are on site in Jenny Jump State Park in Hope, New Jersey. Uh, if you're ever looking for a great place to go camping, hike some trails, Jenny Jump is, in fact, the place to do it. Go over to their website. We love our park people. They help us out a lot, and great place. So, because I see shapes in the dark, but I don't have my distance glasses, and I've been staring at a screen. Um, I'm just going to give a couple minutes for anyone who's over there to wander down over here. Um, if you happen to be online, do check us out at uacnj.org. It's where you're going to find a list of all our upcoming talks, as well as talks we've done in the past, and all of our member clubs. Because that's right, we are a club made up of other clubs, and our goal is to try and get our love of astronomy and science out to as many people as possible. And one of the best ways to do that is to get in touch with your local club. So, in addition, you can reach out to us on our social media pages, our Facebook, our Instagram. We have a Discord channel. We're all great places to ask questions, share your astrophotography. Also, if you want to have bragging rights and give someone to blame for all the rain because you just bought a brand new telescope, and of course, as soon as you buy new astronomy equipment, you have to pay the cloud tax. You're like, can't wait to get out. Nope, it is cloudy and raining. A couple people have done that lately. Uh, so, looks like most of the people have wandered down here. So that's for online chat, because that's right, we are live streaming this on YouTube and Twitch. You can also, free actions, hit those like and subscribe or follow buttons, depending on where you are. Let us know we're doing a good job. For all the people here, you guys get the safety briefing. First off, if you need to use the restroom, that is the porta potty illuminated by red in the back to my left, your right. We also have a little museum and gift shop area, also illuminated by red on the outside, where you can check out our meteorite display, a whole bunch of telescopes, and like I said, a gift shop. So, we are a nonprofit organization, so any purchases made through that gift shop or donations made, we have links available on our website if you are online and not physically here. I'll go to helping keep our lights on, although I was told that's very inappropriate. You're an astronomy club, you should have your lights off. So, paying the power bill will change that too. In addition, it looks like since we are clearing up, some people may have scopes out or an observatory opened up. I will check sometime during the presentation to see what we have available, since it looks like it's going to be a nice clear night. But you have not come here to hear me rattle on, so one of the last two things is when we go to leave, we are using our headlights because we don't want to get run over or run people over. This is not a game of Frogger. Let's keep it that way. However, with any flashlights we may be using to wander around, do keep those lights pointed towards the ground, because we don't need to accidentally blind people without need. With that, tonight's presentation is our usual first Saturday of the month presentation with Lonny. And I say usual because he has been giving this presentation since UACNJ opened. I forget the date because I can no longer read this in the dark.
1994.
I was 4 years old.
Wow.
But Lonny is a great person. He's received degrees from Stevens Institute of Technology in Physics and Computer Science, learned space art, animation, and video on his own. And Lonny are you still the only member of the IAAA.org organization who specializes in virtual reality worlds?
Yeah.
I didn't know whether someone was like sneaking up on you,
Not
encroaching on your turf. But he has wrote a couple of interactive space ebooks and is most pleased to have married his narrator, Jan, And we love Jen. She allows him to come out and give all these talks. And with that, here's Lonnie.
Thank you very much, Kim. I don't know if my mic is live. I don't hear myself. Oh, okay. And how's that? Oh, very good. Very good. We can't do these kinds of presentations without people like Kim and Chris behind the scenes, technical people, the people who run UACNJ. You'll find Paul, past president, out here. And we're glad you're here. We do this, as Kim mentioned, every Saturday. So my series is the first Saturday of each month, What's Up? And you're going to see that for every month. And we even do it virtually. When it's too cold here and the place is closed to the public, October through, November through April, you can still see us virtually on YouTube and other means. So we're looking at what is up when you look straight up, 9 o'clock at night. I'm using a free program that shows you the time. This might be hard for you to see for some of you, but we're looking at the sky the middle of the month, September, at about 9 o'clock, when we can still see the summer triangle of 3 bright stars, making a nice bright triangle in the sky. Called the summer triangle. It's 3 different constellations. But we're going to be taking a look at some of these things in more detail. So what I've done is I've isolated the events by morning and evening. If you like to get up early, let's say you have to get up early. Anybody here have to get up at 5 in the morning for work or very early? Yeah, okay, well then you, my friend, have a chance to see some nice alignments of planets that will be coming into the evening sky later in the year. Right now they're in the morning sky. And those are Mercury and Jupiter and Mars. So I've marked them in a different color here. If you can't see color, I know some people can't, then it doesn't matter. I'm just going to look at those events first. Earlier in the month, a few days ago, Mercury was at its greatest distance away from the sun. Now, Mercury is always pretty much the same distance from the sun, but when I say distance in the sky, I'm talking about angle. How many degrees up away from the sun? Mercury was at its greatest stretching elongation westward of the morning sun, rising in the morning sky, and it'll be way down on the horizon if you're up early, next to the head of the lion, the sign of the zodiac. Anybody? Lion? Leo, yeah, that's correct. So right next to the bright star, the lawgiver Regulus. The bright star Regulus is very close to Mercury tomorrow morning, September 8th. And if you get up early enough, you'll see it near Cancer the crab, Gemini the twins, right? There's a line running between the signs of the zodiac. In real life, no, I turned that line on. That's called the ecliptic. I turned it on. It connects the signs of the zodiac. And I turned it on in the free program Stellarium, so you can see how the constellations of the zodiac are lined up. That's where you find the sun and the moon and the planets, the major planets, not Pluto, because the solar system is, as we say in scientific terminology, you got this? Flat. I'm going to use a lot of scientific terms today. Solar system's pretty flat, which means we find the planets going through the signs of the zodiac on a kind of a straight line. That's where we find Mercury tomorrow morning. If you're looking for the moon passing the planets Jupiter and Mars, that's later in the month, the 23rd and the 25th. So on September 23rd, the moon is here. There's the bull. See the horns? Zodiac sign bull. Anybody? Taurus. Very good. See, some of the members of the audience are not shy. It's okay. It's okay to speak up. I'll rely on you. Past Taurus, the moon is moving this way. It will pass Jupiter on the 23rd. It'll be the next day right between, and then that's the 24th. Then the 25th, it'll be close to the planet Mars, which is in the stars of Gemini, the twins. So when I say Mars is in Gemini, is it right next to those stars? In the sky, it is. But in real life, in space, is it close? Not at all. All right, these are Stars are hundreds to thousands of light years away. The planet Mars is only light minutes away. So it might take light 20 minutes to reach us from a planet, or hundreds of years or thousands of years to reach us from a star. So when you say a planet is in a constellation, it's nowhere near those stars. It's just in front of them. So I'm going to focus on evening events. And since we're in a high allergy season, I'm going to ask you to pardon me for just a second. While we lose our signal entirely. That's interesting. Oh, okay, technical difficulties. Yeah, that was me, sorry. In fact, that was computer technical difficulties, which we can get rid of. By turning off power. So how many times have you seen somebody do this? I don't want to turn my display off. Fixed. You can find these astronomy events, by the way, at several places. Go-astronomy.com is easy to remember. Starwalk.space might not be as easy, but you'll see these addresses come up again later. So first I'm focusing on the phases of the moon, September 3rd and 18th. We missed the new moon because today is the 7th, but that means that the moon is still in the daytime sky close to the sun. That's why we call it new. We can't see it. It's pretty much dark. It's hard to see against the bright daytime sky. We still have a moon that's close to the sun. Anybody see the nice, beautiful thin crescent moon on their way here? Yep, I did as I was driving up. So the moon's moving away from the sun into the evening sky. And the full moon is later on in the month, happens to be also, by coincidence, not only full, but a supermoon, and there's an eclipse of the moon at the same time. So let's explain all that. Here's today's phase of the moon. I like to see this at a website called Moon Giant, moongiant.com. Why did they call it Moon Giant? I don't know. Do I work for Moon Giant? No. That's why I don't know. I don't work for any of the websites that you're going to see tonight except my own. So I like Moon Giant because you can get a calendar, you can see what the current phase is, you can click the arrow to see what the upcoming phases are. Like tomorrow, the crescent is thicker. It's waxing. Waxing means growing larger, waning means growing smaller. And I like their calendar because you can highlight all the major phases of the moon. Great time to see faint objects in the sky at night is when the moon is in the daytime sky, right? Makes sense. New moon. Horrible time to see faint objects at night. When? When the moon is full, right? Can you say faint star clouds or galaxies? It's very difficult. Moon's light gets in the way. Great time to see detail on the moon as the shadows get raked across by the sunlight coming straight across in quarter phases, first and last. First quarter is at night, last quarter is in the morning. So I know one of the members of the audience has to get up early. You could look in the south and see the last quarter moon with the bright left side lit up facing the rising sun on the left as you face south. South here at Jenny Jump is that way. So if you're facing south, the sun is going to set that way by the water gap, rise that way. So first quarter moon, when most of us are up at night, the sun sets, first quarter moon is directly in the south. Great time to look at the moon in a telescope. You see the craters of the moon, and you might see some lights on the dark side near the terminator, the boundary between light and dark. Those aren't cities. They're mountain peaks. The full moon has names. each month, given to it by Native Americans and also by the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts many years ago. But I've just got a very few names here. We are into the super harvest moon, not the harvest moon, the super harvest moon this time, because it's you can harvest by the light of the full moon, as our ancestors did. Well, what do we mean by a super moon, though? The super moon, contrary to the exaggerated claims of the news media, the moon is not so big that it'll look like a giant balloon in the sky. It's slightly bigger in size than it normally looks, because the moon's orbit around the Earth is not a circle. It's an ellipse, slightly dented circle. Not as much as this. This is an exaggeration. But it means that sometimes the moon is closer to us, perigee, sometimes apogee, away, A for away, perigee, P for pretty close. So the moon is closer, it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit brighter. It's only a matter of percent. It's not dramatically different. So you might not notice. But that makes it a super full moon. And in addition to that, the orbit of the moon usually makes it miss the Earth's shadow. The Earth has a shadow from the sun stretching out into space opposite the sun. The moon enters it once in a while. Now, why doesn't it go in every month? Well, because the moon's orbit is tipped to the Earth's equator, so it misses most of the time. But the whole orbit precesses, moves around in a circle. So that brings the intersection point where the moon goes into the Earth's shadow in every once in a while. A couple times a year, maybe 3 times a year. Happens over different parts of the Earth, different times. Just so happens that it'll be visible in the United States this time on the 18th of September. Don't miss it. Lunar eclipses last a lot longer than solar eclipses. They're quite beautiful. The disappointing thing about this one is that it's only a partial phase. Although it's visible fully in New Jersey, lasting hours, it misses the center part of Earth's shadow, the darkest part, the umbra. The penumbra is the lighter part of Earth's shadow, the fuzzier part. And that's where the moon will be spending its time, hitting it right there, first contact about 8:41 at night. And I'm going to say that you can just ignore all these times except for when it's the fullest, the greatest eclipse, when the moon just nicks the edge of the umbra. You might see little darkening on this side of the moon, right there, at 10:44 p.m. our time. When you look it up on a lot of websites, they'll give you the universal time, U period, T period. That's the time at Greenwich, London, England. That's our prime meridian, and that's 2:44. But we are always 4 hours back in Eastern Daylight Time from universal time. So you subtract 2:44 minus 4 is a negative number, right? So it's going backwards in time from midnight. 2 hours back is midnight. 2 more hours back is 10 o'clock at night. 10:44, greatest eclipse. So you're going to go out when? September 18th. What time? Before 11. Thank you. And here's another view. If you go on this site, timeanddate.com, they actually have a slider where you can simulate the moon going in and out of the umbra while it's in the penumbra. It's really cool. It's they have all kinds of animations and neat things, timeanddate.com. Another good site is easy to remember, space.com. That's about the easiest they could possibly make it. And I'll mention all these references at the end of my talk. What else? What else is happening? Saturn is putting on a nice show because it's lined up in a straight line from the sun to Earth to Saturn. That's called opposition. So here's another free program called Celestia, where you can fly through space to visit other planets and see what they look like from their moons. You could fly to the moon and see what the Earth looks like as it eclipses the sun. the reverse. A lunar eclipse seen from the moon. It's really cool. But here's what we've got. We've got Sun, Earth, Saturn. It's at its closest distance to Earth. Earth is 1 unit away, 1 astronomical unit. Astronomers like to use that as a standard distance, 93 million miles. Saturn is a lot further. It's almost 10 times the Earth-Sun distance. So we're at a minimum distance, making Saturn its brightest at opposition. But it's bright pretty much for a few months, right? So by the time it's near Saturn on the 17th, there's going to be an occultation. It'll still be pretty bright. An occultation is where something hides something else. Occult, hide. And that's on September 17th to the 18th. We cannot see it from New Jersey. It's below the horizon as it happens. But what we can see is that the moon will be very close to Saturn on the 17th and 18th at, let's see, when we are still up. So this is about 9:30 at night. It's getting lower and lower in the sky. You want to see it before it disappears below the horizon. We will miss the occultation. On the 21st, we've got another planet visible in the evening sky, and that's the not blue planet Neptune. Not blue. Why do I say that? Well, Anton Petrov on his YouTube channel, go check him out. He's an astrophysicist. He always starts every speech with "Hello, wonderful person." You can actually buy a T-shirt from him that says "Wonderful person." He's really funny. But he talks about Neptune in one of his free YouTube chats, where we see that it's not a blue planet after all. That's an exaggerated color from NASA. Neptune looks a lot like the planet before that, which is Uranus, greenish in color. And you're going to find Neptune tonight at 20 hours and 30 minutes. 20 minus 12 is? So very many shy people in the audience who don't like arithmetic. Yes, thank you, sir. 8 o'clock at night, 8:30, 20:30, on September 21st, Neptune will be amongst the stars of Pisces, which is a sign of the zodiac. Pisces are what? Fish, 2 fishes. Is it fish or fishes? Plural. Could be both, right? 2 fish, 2 fishes. Take your pick. In one episode of The Simpsons, the owner of the atomic energy plant is holding a bottle of ketchup in his hand. And he's looking at the aisle in confusion, going, "Ketchup? Ketchup? Ketchup? Ketchup. Is it fish or fishes?" Take your pick. It's not far from the planet Saturn, because remember I said the planets line up with the sun and the moon against the ecliptic, which lines up the signs of the zodiac. What is the ecliptic? It's just the Earth's orbit if you could draw it out into space. And Neptune, in close-up, in even the most powerful telescopes here, looks like a fuzzy blue disk. Very hard to see features on Neptune. You can see its brightest, biggest moon, Triton. Triton. It's about the size of Pluto, and it might have been a captured object many eons ago. Neptune's big moon, Triton. And so that's what it looks like in a telescope. And if you come here on a dark night, when it's not cloudy, if we have a clear enough view, low enough in the sky, maybe we can show you the planet Neptune, the one after Saturn. That makes it number, Jupiter 5, Saturn 6, Uranus 7, the 8th planet, 8th major planet, and last of the major planets. What happened to Pluto? That's a dwarf planet, doesn't count. Last on my list is the equinox. Equal, nox, night, sleep, equal nights, equal days, nights, the autumnal equinox. And that's when the sun crosses the equator. If we draw the Earth's equator in the sky as a blue line, and the Earth's orbit as a red line, the two don't line up. Why? Well, the Earth is tipped, right? The Earth is tipped to its orbit around the sun. Its axis is tipped about 23.4 degrees. 23 and a half is close. Right? And that's what gives us our seasons. When the sun crosses the equator, we have equal days and nights. All across the earth, it's the same time when things get light or dark. Just 2 times of the year that happens. Autumnal equinox or fall equinox and the spring equinox, vernal. And if we look at it in close up, the sun is exactly crossing the equator. You can do this in the program Stellarium. It's kind of fun. And I found the time is 8:39 in the morning on September 22nd. 8:39. You want to go out at 8:39 in the morning and shout to your neighbors, "It's fall." Will they think you're crazy? I don't know. If you do it in New York City, not only will no one think you're crazy, but no one will even look at you. I've done things like that. We're waiting for the Blaze Star to do something. The Blaze Star seems to be on strike. I don't know what happened. T Corona Borealis is supposed to explode anytime soon in brightness. Normally, it's invisible to the eye at magnitude plus 10. The higher the number, the fainter the object. The faintest that the human eye can see is plus 5. And every 5 steps is 100 times fainter. So right now, the Blaze Star is 100 times fainter than we could possibly see with our naked eye. What's happening here is there's 2 stars orbiting each other over 228 days. One of them is a tiny star the size of Earth, a white dwarf. The other one's a gigantic red star, big enough to swallow part of our solar system. And the small star is taking material away from the big one in a disk that accretes or collects. So it's called an accretion disk. And every once in a while, every 80 years, the amount of material builds up so much that there's an impact point that explodes in a fusion explosion, and the star brightens by over 600 times and then becomes visible to the naked eye. How do we know this? Because it's been happening over and over several times. Last time in 1946, the star brightened a little bit, and that was a precursor to what's happened in March of last year. It brightened just like it did in 1946. This happens every 80 years. It's a little bit late. It was supposed to happen sometime between April and now. So we're waiting eagerly to see T Corona Borealis. And we're looking at artwork. This isn't a real picture. This is artwork by the oldest living space artist, David Hardy, who lives in England. He is currently 88 years old. And he inspired me to become interested in doing space art myself many years ago. T Corona Borealis, it's near Hercules, the hero. Look straight up tonight. You'll see Hercules. And next to it, the crown. One of the labors of Hercules, rescue the crown. In the crown, an extra star will appear. Here's the crown again. And the star will become just about as bright as any of these others. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stars in Corona Borealis. There'll be a star right there making a almost right triangle with Epsilon and this other star, the name of which I always forget. They're named by the Greek letters. Got it? So you want to look straight up, look for the H for the Hercules, look to the right for the crown, and you'll see the crown is disfigured and will now have 8 stars instead of 7, just like the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper does not have 7 stars. If we're looking at the sky, low in the sky, you still have a last chance to see the teapot, which is also the Archer, also the Centaur, Sagittarius, part man, part horse. Look at that. Looks just like a guy who's part man, part horse holding a bow and arrow, right? I don't know about you. I see a teapot. That's what we amateur astronomers here at Jenny Jump call it, the teapot. I am an amateur astronomer. I'm not a professional. I don't get paid to do this. I don't get paid to study astronomy. That was not my field when I was working. I am now retired, and I spend all my time doing astronomical things like animating the explosion of the asteroid in 1908 that blew up part of a forest. Very exciting. No one ever animated what the fireball looked like. We now know what the fireball looks like from the Chelyabinsk explosion in 2013 over Russia. So I'm making an animation of what this object looked like, and it wasn't like the Chelyabinsk meteor, which was 50 feet across. Tunguska in 1908 was 200 feet across. If we got hit by something like that, it would wipe out a city completely, a city like New York City. Very exciting things to do. This is my sign, by the way. I was born when the sun was supposed to be in Capricornus, the sea goat. Half fish. Looks just like that, right? No? I see people, nobody's shaking a head either yes or no, but you all look very skeptical. Yeah, that's supposed to be Capricornus, the sea goat. When I was born, the sun was here, not here. So why is this my sign? It's because astrology is off by one whole sign because the Earth wobbled in the few thousand years since astrology got started. And now if we see the moon is there in that part of the sky, pardon me, it is, thank you, it is allergy season. So in this part of the sky, these constellations don't spend a lot of time there because they're so low in New Jersey skies. If you look higher in the sky, you'll see the summer triangle that I pointed out at the beginning of my talk. You'll see the great square, this huge square called the Great Square, very imaginative, for the flying horse, upside down head, body, legs. The rest of the horse got cut off to make Andromeda, where we can see the Andromeda galaxy. So you'll be looking straight up very high in the sky to see these signs. And if we look over to the side of the horse, we'll see a fuzzy cloud amongst the stars of a Y-shaped group of stars. So you go over to the side of the square and count 2 stars over, 2 stars up, 2 over, 2 up, look for the fuzzy cloud, and you've just seen an object that made the Guinness Book of World Records, the Andromeda Galaxy. It's the farthest thing in the universe that the human eye can see, the naked eye, no optical aid. And it is about 2.5 million light years away from us. It is what our galaxy would look like if we were looking from Andromeda, or if someone from Andromeda were looking at us. And it looks something like that in a larger telescope. You might see something like this, close to that, in some of our larger telescopes tonight. To get started in astronomy, I recommend binoculars because they're not as expensive as telescopes. And if you get bored, you can use them for other things like watching birds. The way that you find what a useful binocular, pair of binoculars is by your exit pupil of light coming into your eye. Now, as we get older, our eye pupils don't open to 7 millimeters anymore. They open more like 5. So you're wasting money and light if you get a pair of binoculars that has an exit pupil that's too big. For instance, 7 by 50 is the most popular larger binoculars that people buy. 7 times magnification by 50 millimeters lens size. So the first number is power. The second number is diameter of the lens in millimeters, not inches. You divide the second by the first. 50 over 7 is 7, right? Close enough. That means that if you're a young person, 7 millimeters of light comes into your eye. If you're an old person, the light cone hits your eye and only 5 millimeters goes in. You're wasting the light. So there is something called adult binoculars for adults. That's how I found it on Amazon.com. And I'm just pricing and finding a few fairly reasonably priced. Standard sky watching binoculars have smaller exit pupils, and they're very reasonably priced. You can also buy so-called giant binoculars with bigger lenses, like 80 millimeters. There's 25.4 millimeters to the inch, 50 is about 2 inches, and 80 is more than 3. Pretty good. And so those are, of course, those are more expensive, and they're heavier, so you're going to want a tripod or some way to hold them steady. Beginner telescopes are fairly reasonably priced. Celestron is one brand, Meade is another, Orion is going out of business. Pardon me. You can get information about that at celestron.com, but also space.com. Almost any astronomy site will tell you about telescopes. The other beginner telescopes, a little more expensive if they come with tripods. And then if you like to gather more light to see fainter objects, the way to save money is the Dobsonian design. Very simple mount. It goes up and down, it goes left and right. So it does not follow the sky as the sky moves. Why does the sky move? Moves from east to west. Why? Because the Earth is rotating the other way. So it doesn't counter the motion. You have to move it manually. But that's okay. So 8 and 10-inch telescopes gather you more light. You can see fainter objects like star clouds. And then there are more complex designs. My wife was nice enough to buy me a 90 millimeter telescope that's 3.5 inches that uses mirrors and lenses. All right, refractor uses a lens, reflector reflects like a mirror. This one has a mirror in back, a lens in front, a second mirror painted onto the back of the lens. So the light comes in, bounces off the mirror in back, bounces off the little mirror on the lens, goes through a hole in the back of the big mirror. So the light path is compressed. It's long, but because it bounces back and forth, you're getting a longer focal length, more magnification. Spy satellites do this, bending a light path back and forth many times, so they can actually see from orbit, they can actually see human beings. Amazing. So that's a more complex design. Before we look at the sky live, if there is a little bit of time, I'd like to show you the program that lets you see the sky live. I have some references for you. I see you all furiously scribbling notes and tapping on your phones. No? You're going to remember all this? uacnij.org. Say after me, uacnij. I don't hear you. uacnij. Thank you. That's UACNJ, United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. That's where you are now. We have a lot of useful information about upcoming events, what the clubs are up to, the telescopes, a lot of information there. Sky and Telescope and Astronomy have been in print for decades. They're online. You can subscribe. And there's even huge parts of their sites that are free. And if you forget everything else I've told you tonight, this one's easy, space.com. Couldn't be easier, space.com. They also tell you about stargazing apps for your mobile devices. I found 21. This one, Stellarium, is great. This is the one that I use on my laptop. You don't have to install anything. You could just go to the website and run it there, or you could use the mobile device. You can use their free mobile app. And then Celestia, I mentioned, is the one that lets you fly out into space. I didn't even list all the Android apps. There's so many. Some are good for if you're doing photography, professional astronomy. Others are good just for casual sky gazing. I used something called Skyview, but they're all good and they're all free. How can you complain? A little bit of history this month. They proved Einstein's theory of relativity right by showing how the sun bends starlight and changes the position of stars from their predicted positions. by exactly the amount predicted by relativity. That's how we know that that's a good theory. Before I show you the night sky, you know what? I'm going to pause right here, and I'm going to show you what the sky looks like live. So we're recreating it live right now in a living planisphere. You can buy, by the way, sales alert, ad, you can buy a planisphere in our gift shop. They're cheap, they're handy, they rotate, they show you the sky any time of the day or night, any time of the year. Cool. You can also do it with computer programs like Stellarium, where you can zoom in and see the northern stars, like the 8 stars of the Big Dipper. 8 stars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look in the bend of the handle. See if you can see Mizar and Alcor, the double star. Use the Big Dipper as pointers to find the North Star, Polaris, and the Little Dipper. Where I live, I don't know about you, but whoops. But where I live, I see only 1, 2, 3 stars in the Little Dipper. I see things moving every once in a while. What's that? Starlink. What's Starlink? Satellites, right? Artificial satellites. You can see those here. This is one of the darkest sites in the state of New Jersey. So you have the opportunity to see things like nebulae, star clouds where stars are being born with your naked eye. I did it here in the summer. I saw a nebula with my naked eye. I saw Starlink satellites as well with my naked eye. So once you've got things like the dippers under hand, you know where north is, you can turn around, face south, and see the stars of summer disappearing. Right, we're into fall now, first day of fall coming. The teapot, looks like to me this looks like an article of clothing. But that's my sign, the goat. Do you see the goat fish? The fish goat? Right next to the water carrier, Aquarius. Saturn is in Aquarius. And again, what does that mean? Does it mean it's near? Saturn is, let's see, light time 1 hour and 12 minutes away. How about this bright star in Aquarius? It's 523 light years away. That's quite a difference. If you want to look at Saturn in a telescope, you can do it here. There are all kinds of telescopes. Amateur astronomers bring their own. I'm going to zoom in enough to show you what it looks like in a small telescope. Kind of hard to see anything, isn't it? The rings are starting to close up because as Saturn goes around the sun. It's tipped too, 29 degrees. The Earth, 23.5. So as we both go around the sun, the rings of Saturn open and close and open and close over 29 years. Every 14 years, half of a Saturn year, they disappear because they're so thin. They're not 170,000 miles. Well, they are 170,000 miles wide, but they're not even 100 miles thick. They're only 30 feet thick. So they disappear entirely from the Earth. So here's Saturn in a big telescope where you can still see the Cassini gap, the Cassini division in the rings. You can see, hard to see the shadow of the rings on Saturn. Very easy to see 5 or 6 moons of Saturn at once, even in small telescopes. And it's big moon Titan, which looks red because it's covered with a thick atmosphere of methane. Very cool. Ask the astronomers to show you Saturn while you're here. It's kind of low in the sky at 8:44 p.m., which is the current time. But you can see the Great Square of Pegasus coming up. I'll be showing that in more detail next month in What's Up in October. But if I go 2 stars from this star in the Great Square over and 2 up, do you see the Y? Little Y shape. Let's zoom in a little bit. Little Y shape right between the spokes of the Y. Andromeda Galaxy. That's what our Milky Way would look like from Andromeda. And you might have heard that we're on a collision course with Andromeda. In the news now, they've altered this. Not only will this happen not 3 billion years from now, don't worry, it's more like 5 billion, we may not collide at all. There's a 50% chance we'll miss. And even if we do collide, it's more like combining. The stars will miss each other because they're so sparsely populated in galaxies that there won't be any collisions. The galaxies may merge over time, over a period of several billion years, to become one big galaxy. But that's 5 billion years from now, so don't worry about it. Andromeda also has two little satellite galaxies that are visible even in small telescopes. We have two small satellites. Anybody ever visit south of the equator, Australia, Africa? Anyone? Clouds of Magellan, the two little satellites of our Milky Way. Milky Way has several satellite galaxies, but those are visible to the naked eye, just like Andromeda's too. And what's all this dark stuff? We astronomers call it dark stuff. No, actually, we call it dust. And all this lit up bright stuff, that's gas, lit up by blue stars and reddish stars, stars of different colors. Very cool. While we've got the sky up, does anybody have a favorite object or question about anything that I've talked about? Because I have come to the end of this part of my talk, and I want to thank you all for being such a good audience. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Lonnie, for a great talk. So we are going to be doing a question and answer session. But before that, I think a couple people wandered in after the safety briefing. So in case you didn't hear it, if you need to use the restroom, that is the porta potty in the back to my left, your right. It is illuminated by red. We also have a museum and gift shop area in the door also to my left, surrounded in red rope lighting, that I will be manning after question and answer because I still cannot be in two places at once. When we go to leave, we are still using our headlights because, again, we are not playing Frogger in the dark with pedestrians. Let's avoid getting run over. And any flashlights, we do try and keep them towards the ground when possible to avoid accidentally blinding people. We do have a couple of scopes that are open. I believe one person has their personal scope up, and we do believe we have one observatory open, and with volunteers manning those stations so that you can ask them what they have currently in their view, and they'll usually tell you, or if there's something they know is up or you know is up and you want to see it, we will do our best to accommodate with the patchy clouds, which is still better than total clouds.
Right.
So for the people here, if you have a question, you're going to raise your hand and wave it about because I am partially night blind since I've been monitoring online chat and staring at a bright screen. For online chat, you just get to type because you have the easy one.
Is that a hand up? I saw a hand. Nope. Just waving?
Yeah. If it doesn't stay up, I assume you're just scratching or something, like, because mosquitoes are a thing. Lord knows I've been eaten by enough tonight. So we're going to start off with our first online question, which is, are you guys going to be doing a Halloween special for the last presentation of the on-site season? And the answer is we always do try. We do invite people if you, on our last night, on the last Saturday on site, to come in their Halloween costumes because it's fun. And during October, we generally bring the zombies out because, hey, it brings us a little bit of joy, and we hope it brings everyone else a little bit of joy too. So we do plan on having, at least if you want to come join us in costume, we always encourage people because it's fun. All right, were there any questions out here? I hear some crickets and also the wind
Some
ripping
rain.
through. I'm not sure that it's rain so much as the wet
tree
leaves hitting each other in the wind.
Sure.
So our next online question, is UTC the same as Greenwich Mean Time?
And the answer, that's a simple question. Thank you. Yeah, and the answer is yes, it is. It's gone by many names over the years.
All right. Question. Wow, we're really quiet.
Don't be
See.
shy. I grew
And
up as a very shy person. I've learned to get around that a little bit.
also, people online, if there is something you want to see or a question you want to ask, sometimes I need some context because putting Kim's Saturn, um, I have no context. So sometimes it's hard to understand what you were wanting with that. So, where I think
Saturn,
Saturn, I think you said that it was near the moons.
lower in the sky. It's right here in the east, rising. Right now, it's pretty low. It's in Aquarius. It'll be up later. If you can stay up late, you'll see Saturn in the south.
Depends on how much caffeine we have.
Yes.
All right. So online chat, it looks like we're a little quiet. Everyone's probably either out observing or otherwise occupied. Was there a hand back there? Okay, just saw movement. That's why I'm. Do get your questions in. I do want to make sure we are able to answer them if we can, and if we can't, we may make up an answer. And you should always fact check us because sometimes information can change. That's the whole part of science. I do want to thank you, Lonnie, for a great presentation. I do want to thank
Thanks.
everyone who has joined us not only here but online. Your support has been amazing. Like Lonnie has mentioned, do check us out on our website. And
Oh,
if there were links, because I know there were several occasions he brings up the useful resource links. If you're ever wondering, hey, where were those links? You can always go back onto our YouTube. We keep all our past presentations archived, and you'll be able to find those links there.
we're everywhere, see?
Yeah, I need to change that logo.
Whoops. Okay.
um, because that's not quite right anymore, but
You can
we
find
will get that
you can
fixed.
find me here, Astronomy in Motion. You can play with three-dimensional planets with your fingers or with a mouse or pointer.
All right, so we did get an online question. Have the rings of Saturn totally flattened yet, or are they still on their way to being flat?
Yeah, rings of Saturn are flattening out and they will disappear in March of next year.
And how long again until we can see them?
It's a matter of weeks. It actually goes through a cycle, kind of disappearing, reappearing, disappearing. Depends because the Earth and Saturn are doing a nice little dance together. So it won't be for long, but long enough. I mean, as long as you get out there night after night. That's the whole point of what we do here. We're encouraging you. You know, if it's a little cloudy tonight, don't be discouraged. Come back again. Go out at home. Use your eyes. Look at the sky. Look up. It's one of our logos. Look up.
Plus, your local astronomy club, not everyone has presentations on Saturday. I know some of them do Thursday or Fridays where they have events, or sometimes I believe our New York City club does sidewalk astronomy. They're out when they feel like it, and sometimes they have those scheduled. So, again, do check out our website. You'll be able to find out more about those clubs and those events that they're holding with links to their site in case we've missed an event that they are currently holding. All right, so it looks like that is the end of online questions. Thank you all. And here's hoping for clearer skies and good seeing.
Thank you, Kim.